Hey, everybody, off the Mike Sports Network here. A couple of draft notes here. One big story that came out in day three. Quinn Ewers fell all the way to the seventh round and got picked by the Miami Dolphins. And there were some names that were taken ahead of him. Tommy Mellott out of Montana State, Cam Miller out of North Dakota State. They were taken. There were two quarterbacks taken by the Raiders in the span of three picks, and they weren't neither one of them were Quinn Ewers. And I understand Quinn Ewers is not a complete and finished product, but that was jarring to me to see that. And I think Curtis Rourke actually went ahead of and Curtis Rourke was a very accomplished player for years at Ohio, and then obviously the great year he had at Indiana, playing with a torn ACL, which is incredible. Um, but man, seeing Quinn Ewers fall as far as he did, almost getting undrafted and going to the Dolphins in the seventh round, that was particularly alarming. And it leads me to my point here when talking about the Texas signal caller. He was not going to go back to Texas next year. There were two options for him. There was A, go to the draft, or B, go in the portal and, go and try to go start at another Division One school. And I think there would have been a spot somewhere for him in Division One where he could have started, and he would have made way more money than he would have being a seventh round pick with the Dolphins and effectively being a backup or third string quarterback on the Dolphins depth chart. Now, Quinn Ewers was a highly heralded recruit, but there's some questions with his decision making. His arms a little bit inconsistent. But it was shocking to see this happen. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm surprised by this. Like, I thought it was weird when he declared for the draft in the first place. Like, he's a name, but Texas kind of largely underachieved because Quinn Ewers didn't deliver in big moments. We saw it in the Cotton Bowl. Like, came up short. He did come up big in that Peach Bowl with a couple of big time throws to help them win that game against Arizona State. But yeah, then, in the playoff the year before against Washington in the Sugar Bowl, it didn't come up big. It's just like, it feels like there was a lot of meat left on the bone at Texas, and you knew he wasn't going to start there. Arch Manning is going to be the starter. So I think it would have better suited him to go in the portal and potentially not ultimately end up being in the NFL draft, because like I said, this was kind of like, you take away the whole Shedeur Sanders element. This was quietly one of the more noteworthy falls of the entire, like, nobody expected Quinn Ewers to go in the first 2 days of the draft, but the fact that he went so deep and like a lot, like I said, there were some names like Graham Mertz, who was not even on my draft radar, went way ahead of Quinn Ewers. Yeah, so Graham Mertz, Tommy Mellott, who I think Tommy Mellott may not even play quarterback, Cam Miller, like, it's just like it was wild to see so many different names. Like, I mean, obviously, Riley Leonard and Will Howard both went ahead of him, which I fully expected to happen. But man, just to see this happen in the way that it did, and it's going to go kind of under the radar just because of, like, how big the Shedeur Sanders story was and dominated a large chunk of this draft. But yeah, like I said, this was surprising, and it just further reinforces the point of when, Quinn Ewers, ultimately decided to declare for the draft when he could have gone back to school. A lot of people were left questioning it and saying, man, do you really think that you're going to get drafted? And he left, and especially in the, NIL era, he left a ton of money on the table. There is more money to be made in college now than ever before. And obviously with the revenue sharing thing that's coming in terms of college football and the whole house settlement stuff, like, this feels like a massive missed opportunity for Quinn Ewers, because he may never become anything in professional football. Maybe he'll end up in the UFL. I don't know. Maybe there's a chance for him to start in Miami because Tua Tagovailoa, has proven to be very injury prone, and it's the amount of concussions that he's had in the last few years is just alarming. But it's just, man, I'm looking at this situation, I'm just like, holy shit, that's insane. Like, low key, one of the more shocking draft falls that you can remember, because it's like, man, Quinn Ewers and Shedeur Sanders, like, I'm not gonna say they're on the same level, but like, it's just, you look at it and you're like, his name was in this draft and so many other quarterbacks were taking over him. It makes you wonder, like, what type of information was he getting from his agent and from the people in the scouting community saying, yeah, what led you to believe that you were going to get selected high enough was going to warrant you turning down potentially a starting job in Division One and, maybe a couple $1,000,000 in NIL money. Like, you could have gone to a bunch of different schools and potentially, had an opportunity to start. So that was insane to really see that happen. Anyway, thanks so much for watching here on the channel. We at 1150 here in subscribers. Appreciate you all supporting the channel. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.